Fantastic Four rumors, Majors recast, Superman Legacy, a writer's strike looms, and how a recent court settlement could affect YouTube Grifters. All that on today's episode of Bridging the Geekdoms. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bridging the Geekdoms. I am your hostess with the mostest, Robert Slavinsky. How's it going, everyone? What's up? It's been a week. Actually, not a lot has happened this past week, to be completely honest. It was really hard coming up with some stuff to talk about here today. But there are two topics that, while they're not necessarily normal for us to talk about on Bridging the Geekdoms, I thought that it'd be a good idea to cover them because it could affect what's going on in the future when it comes to this channel and all of YouTube pop culture channels as well. But if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, share this with all your friends and family and aunts and uncles and grandfathers and grandmothers. We are trying to hit 2,000. That's right, 2,000 subscribers by the end of this summer. We're about 150 away. I think we can get 150 subscribers actually before the end of this month. I think it'd be great. I might pull that deadline back a little bit. 150 subscribers, 2,000 by May. That's what, 10 days, 11 days away? Let's go. Let's get it done. If you're not sure, our show setup is pretty simple. The first 15, 20, 25 minutes is dedicated to some hot topics through the week. Could be reviews. It could be news articles or news things that have come up that I think are pretty interesting to talk about. And then we have a main topic that covers the last portion of the show. That is our big main topic that this week will be the discussion on what could happen to YouTube Grifters after a recent court settlement. It's pretty interesting because we're just a stone's throw away from what happened there. It's just a stone's throw away to affecting YouTube. It's very interesting. But let's get into this here. I want to talk about some fun yet interesting tidbits. First thing, let's get into it. Mr. Fantastic is rumored to be nearly cast. Rumor has it that Adam Driver is in final talks to play Reed Richards' Mr. Fantastic in the MCU Fantastic Four film. Here's the thing. I like Adam Driver. I think Adam Driver's a damn good actor. I think he doesn't get enough credit. He's also a bit strange when it comes to acting. Nothing against him. It's just sometimes actors are just kind of weird with things. But here's the thing. When you look at him, you don't see Reed Richards. That's not to say that he wouldn't kill it in that role. That's not to say that the way they've written the role wouldn't work for him. But what I am saying is, I think he would be much better suited for Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, who should be a major villain in the MCU for many, many years. And I think we've yet to see, because Loki was a villain from pretty much the beginning in Thor. While he wasn't the main villain in the first Thor movie, at the beginning, he became the main villain. And, he wasn't a good guy at first. I want to see the fall of somebody who is pure good, who has good intentions, but completely falls and becomes the major big bad of the MCU. And I think Adam Driver could run with that and could take that role of Victor Von Doom and just make it his own and make it phenomenal. Will it happen? I don't know. I want it to, but rumor has it he's going to be playing Reed Richards, which is a huge get for the MCU, especially with the current status of Jonathan Majors. Yeah, Jonathan Majors. That I got to tell you, when everything started coming out about Jonathan Majors, what was that, about two weeks ago or so, I was really concerned that, this has happened how many times? How many times has this happened with whether it's, directors or actors, things get blown out of proportion. So recently, we know what happened a couple weeks ago with Jonathan Majors, where a woman that he was in a relationship, not in a relationship with, whatever, ended up being in the hospital due to injuries, allegedly due to injuries sustained by Jonathan Majors. The police arrested Jonathan Majors and charges were pressed against Majors. A couple days later, his PR team came out with a text message thread between Majors and this woman, how she was apologizing for everything. There was a big misunderstanding. However, since then, the charges were never dropped. The PR team promised we have conclusive video that proves that he is innocent, yet the charges have yet to be dropped. We also saw other allegations coming out from other people, other women, other directors coming out saying that they've heard things or seen things about how he is not a great human being. I'm going to pull this up here. This is just over on Twitter, and if you take a look at it, you're going to see Jonathan Majors assaulted Ideal. Multiple alleged abuse victims of Jonathan Majors have come forward following his arrest and are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. This is where things get a little bit interesting, because now that it's more than just this woman from a couple weeks ago, we're starting to see other people come forward. That's not to say that Jonathan Majors is guilty. But here's the thing. He's been dropped from multiple movies. He's been dropped by his management team and PR team. Things are not adding up. Things are starting to come out and smell a little bit. Again, innocent until proven guilty, 100%. If things come out and it's revealed that these accusations are all false, he should be back on top of Hollywood as he was. I find it hard to believe that there isn't some truth to a lot of this. And it's unfortunate. This man is so talented. Lovecraft Country was phenomenal. He was great on that show. He is a damn good actor. Every time I see him in something, I know that we're going to get a damn good performance. Yet here we sit, and things aren't looking good for him. It's really, really disappointing. Because personally, I want to see him succeed. I want him to be free of all these allegations and charges. But something just doesn't smell right. Something just doesn't sit right with me in regards to all of this. Again, I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying that at all. He's innocent until proven guilty. But as the old saying goes, if it smells like shit, it's probably shit. Is that even an old saying? I don't know. But let me know your thoughts on everything when it comes to Jonathan Majors in the comments, because I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think he's innocent? Do you think he's not innocent? Do you think he's going to get away with this? What have you? What have you? What have you? Chugging along here, we're going to move into our next topic, which this one got everybody's panties in a bunch this past week. Everybody's panties were in a bunch. Superman Legacy. James Gunn tweeted out, "I'm honored to be a part of the legacy. And what better day than Superman Anniversary Day to dive fully into early pre-production on Superman Legacy. Costumes, production design, and more now up and running." With that, he posts a picture of the front page of the Superman Legacy script written by James Gunn. It's pretty exciting that they're this far ahead. I tried explaining to people that this isn't a lot further in progress than I think a lot of people realized. And in my opinion, I still think that they should, if they haven't cast Superman yet, if they do cast Superman, they need to get him in a post-credit, mid-credit scene of the Flash movie. I'm telling you, if you want to get people excited for what's to come, you need to introduce these characters, the stars of the DCU. You need to introduce them in their roles as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Not in animation, not on television, in film. You have to get that done ASAP. And no better way to do it than in a mid or post-credit scene for the Flash movie, which is going to make a lot of money, get a lot of people in the seats seeing that film. This is the best way to do it. And it's not hard to do. Not hard to do at all. So hopefully they do that. Hopefully. But here's the thing. Obviously, everybody gets their panties in a bunch. But there's questions. Curious if Warner Brothers gave you notes and how did you receive them? Because no, Warner Brothers wouldn't be giving notes on a DC Studios production since we came on board. We're two separate entities within Warner Brothers Discovery. Some people still don't understand the hierarchy of Warner Brothers. So you got Warner Brothers Discovery. That's like the top dog. You got Warner Brothers Pictures over here. You got DC Studios over here. You got New Line. There's a whole bunch of different subsidiaries underneath the WBD structure. DC Studios is its own thing. It's its own entity. He's not going to get notes from Warner Brothers. You're not going to see Warner Brothers pop up in the beginning of these films. You're going to see DC Studios. Somebody asks, have you written the whole script or just that page so far? And he goes, the whole script. You know, again, people are just trying to be assholes here. That's what they're trying to do. Is there anyone else besides that has contributed to the script, or did you write the current version alone? I'm guessing that you had some assistance, and also to clarify, I'm only asking about this version of the script because it obviously can change on set or be rewritten. James Gunn says, no assistance. And somebody goes, oh boy, you're either going to be a hero or an epic failure with this. Yeah. You see, people just, they don't want to accept that there's new. Like, people are having trouble moving on. Everybody has had since 2017 to move on from Henry Cavill. The fact that he popped up in Black Adam for 3 seconds it's gone. It's over with. It didn't even need to happen. Since 2017, we haven't had Henry Cavill Superman, yet people are still stuck on Henry Cavill Superman. I loved him as Superman. I did. He was great, but come on. Come on. Tur isn't here, says, most excited about Swamp Thing. I am too, my man. I'm looking forward to Swamp Thing. I think it'll be great, especially with James Mangold being in charge of that. I mean, the fact that I don't think he's made a bad film. Logan was great. Ford versus Ferrari. Copland. I can't. I'm blanking on some films right now. I don't think he's ever made a bad movie. So I'm definitely looking forward to Swamp Thing. I think it'll be great. Absolutely great. But here's the thing. It didn't stop there because he was then asked, will Jimmy Olsen be in the movie? Which is a fair question because when it comes to Superman, one of the most relatable characters in the comics, in the lore, is Jimmy Olsen. He is us. Jimmy Olsen is us in the Superman comics. So one thing that people don't understand is one of the reasons why the comics work so much better than these movies have, because I'm not saying the movie's bad. I love Man of Steel. Man of Steel is my favorite superhero film. But it's difficult to write Superman, and people find it difficult to write Superman because they don't think that people can relate to Superman. And that's the problem that everybody has. And that was a big difference in Man of Steel because Zack Snyder with Christopher Nolan and David Goyer, they created a Superman that you could relate to. However, that wasn't your typical Superman. That wasn't your Superman who would be in every comic book and every TV show. because Superman, Clark Kent, had a sidekick of sorts. He wasn't a sidekick in the same sense as Robin, in the same sense as Speedy. No, he was a sidekick that humanized Clark, that humanized Superman, who was us. Jimmy Olsen is us, the readers, the viewers, the ones who are inspired and awestruck by this god of a being. So it's not out of the question, will Jimmy Olsen be in this movie? We didn't get him in the Snyderverse because they went a different direction with Superman in that one, and they made it where he was the one that you could connect with. But with us going in a different direction with Superman and Superman Legacy, this is a great question. And obviously, James Gunn answers OFC. Of course. Of course you're going to get Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen is a staple. He is a staple of Superman lore. Again, he is the viewers, the readers. He is our gateway into that world. That is who Jimmy Olsen is. And that's why it's so important to have him in this movie. Again, it's not bad that he wasn't in the Snyderverse. They found another way around it. There's a lot of people discussing and fighting with this idea that you don't need Jimmy Olsen because Snyder didn't have Jimmy Olsen. Well, no, it's a different iteration. It's a different take. He's an important character to draw the audience in, to have a connection with the audience. That's why, I take a look at this show, Smallville, for instance, and through that run, while they did kind of humanize Clark, I mean, Tom Welling was fantastic on that show, found a way to humanize him and see the teenage struggles that you could relate to as a human being. But the connection wasn't always through Clark. The connection was through his friend Pete or Chloe, eventually Jimmy, even Oliver Queen at some point, through Lana, through Lois. Your connection to that world are the supporting characters around Superman in that show. And I think that is what James is going to be. I think that's what he's going to do here. I hope so. I think it's a great way to handle the character. It's a great entry point for us as viewers. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope it works out that way. I do. I hope it works out that way. James Gunn goes, it's interesting to see the numerous responses to my answer here about how notes work in Hollywood. From when I began writing, I have given my scripts and stories to many different trusted parties for notes. Listening to constructive criticism is the lifeblood of any writer. So in his post, people were constantly asking about his notes and everything. And he goes on to explain that, everybody gets notes in some form or fashion. Like when you write a script, you don't just write a script and then give it and say, that's it, that's final. No, sometimes you have friends, hey, read over this for me. Sometimes you have partners, sometimes you have studio heads that you ask for assistance, you ask them to read it and give you some notes and feedback so you can make it better. And he continues about this, says, so as the head of DC Studios, I give the script to people I trust, like my exec, Chantel Nong, or DC Comics writer Tom King, and get their thoughts about what works well and what could work better so I can improve the script. To paraphrase Stephen King, first draft door closed, second draft door open. Writing is communication, so this is important. All that said, I've never, as a director, been given notes I was ordered to take. Not from Universal on Slither, not from Marvel and the Guardians films, nothing. I've always tried to take the notes that will actually make the film better, and I argue about the ones I think won't work. This process has worked for me because I have been blessed in the partners I've chosen to work with. We're all moving towards one thing, making the movie better. And I can put my ego aside and be open when I need to be and convincing when I need to be. I know this is not the case for everyone, and it wasn't always the case for me as a writer. Again, I'm blessed in this way, but that's how notes work, and I'm not going to suddenly stop taking them because I'm the head of the studio. That is all amazing. Like, I don't know how somebody can sit back and say, you know what? James Gunn is going to ruin everything. Because he's willing to sit down and work with people that are knowledgeable as well. Tom King, whether you love him or hate him, Tom King has written Superman on many occasions. It's a great thing that he's sitting there with Tom King writing Superman, getting his thoughts and feelings on Superman. It's great. It is absolutely great. But that's the latest on James Gunn. And as I've been saying, I think the animosity, the hate, the anger towards him is going to dwindle down day by day, week by week, month by month. And the sooner they get more and more information out about the new DCU, the more excited people are going to be, the more forgiving they're going to be that the Snyderverse is over, the more willing they are to accept what's to come. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm all in. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Are you excited about this? Is it going to be amazing? Is it going to suck? Do you like what James Gunn is saying here? Pre-production, early pre-production. I mean, we're talking about costumes. We're talking about they're starting to draw up set designs and probably small, storyboards of ideas that they have from the script that they have already. Not the final storyboards, not anything that's going to be, but ideas are starting to jot down ideas of what this movie is going to look like. And rumor has it that it could be starting to film this coming January. We're talking 8 months from now, right? 8 months from now? Something like that. 8 months from now. This movie could start filming. I personally think it might start sooner than that, but 8 months sounds about right. That sounds about right. If the early pre-production right now, they get everybody schedules, everything in line, say by July, August, September, somewhere around there, they'll be deep in pre-production as they move forward. So I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait for Superman Legacy. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. I think it's going to be great. I do. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal and great. I gotta say, when this all came about, I was excited about it. But the more I keep seeing what James Gunn is saying and doing, I'm getting more and more excited. I'm getting more and more excited. So I hope you guys do too as well. All right. So we're going to move into some unfortunate news that has come up over the past few weeks. So back in 2008, 2009, Hollywood suffered a strike from the Writers Guild of America. I remember that because TV sucked back then. One of my favorite shows, Heroes, was going into its second season and was just destroyed because they didn't have official writers in the writer's room writing the script and putting the show where it needed to go. You have the boom in reality TV at that time. It was not a good time. Well, we're on the brink of another writer's strike in Hollywood. The WGA recently, just the other day, voted by large margin that they would approve a strike if a deal is not figured out by May 1st. That's insane. So we're talking about 10 days from now, a deal needs to be made. If a deal is not made, a strike is going to happen. But what does that mean? Well, first off, before we get into what that means, let's understand what they're asking for, because I think that's kind of important to understand is to realize what's going on with the writers in Hollywood. right now, writers are asking for higher wages, just like everybody across the country. Everyone's asking for higher wages. They want more money, which I understand. I get that. And they want more beneficial residual pay when it comes to their shows and syndication and being used on streaming services, because that is where the issue lies, is the streaming side of things. The money they earn. Let's take The Office, for instance. The Office was a massive success on streaming. It was a massive success on TV. But when it hit streaming, that show is watched constantly. It's still in the top 10 of the charts almost every single month for streaming. The Office, which has been off the air for like 10 years now or more. But people love that show, and it's constantly being streamed. However, the writers who wrote on that, they do get residuals for it being on streaming, but it is pennies compared to what they get on syndication on television. There's a really great guy on TikTok. I wish I could remember his name. He's a writer. He's your typical Hollywood writer, by the way. I mean, when he talks, the way he looks, everything. When you think of Hollywood writer, that is what you would imagine. But he's on TikTok, and he's a great TikToker. And one thing I love that he does is he'll show his paychecks. Well, he doesn't show the actual paycheck, but he'll get his residual paychecks, and he'll go through them and like, oh, this show, this one, I got 33 cents. This one, I got $45. This one, I got $1,200. And he goes through on what he's making on residuals for syndication, which is phenomenal. That's cool to see. But when it comes to streaming, it is significantly lower than what they get when it's on network or cable television. And that's wrong. That's wrong. Now, I know that deals that have been worked out when it comes to streaming with writers has been vastly different. From what I understand, what I've read a little bit on, there's been a lot of discussion where there's residuals that are basically based on streaming numbers. But that's like the writers for Stranger Things, because it's only on Netflix. So they get paid for writing, and then streaming numbers dictates what they get paid in residuals. You don't have that with, say, the people who write Law and Order. You don't have that for the people that wrote The Office. Friends, back in the 90s when Friends was going on, no one could have imagined that we would be in an age where streaming is where it's at, or is what it is today. So if this strike happens, that's why. Because they couldn't get a deal to benefit the writers for all of this, for all of the hard work that they put in. They're not getting the residuals that they deserve. So much like the strike in 2008, many TV shows and films could go away, go on hiatus, especially your live shows, your late night shows, your Saturday Night Lives. That kind of stuff's going to go off the air for a while until things are figured out. So the last strike lasted, I want to say it was a year. I don't remember. But the one that happened in 2007, 2008, unscripted content received a boost of broadcast. This is from Screen Rant. On broadcast networks were allowed to keep making them and get new content. It did not affect any shows that already had completed script for the new seasons or had already filmed the upcoming seasons. Late night TV completed scripts for the new season, late night TV shows had to air reruns without writers to craft the jokes, while majors like 30 Rock, Big Bang Theory, Breaking Bad, Family Guy, Friday Night Lights, Lost, and The Office had shortened seasons that only used the scripts completed before the strike began. Other shows delayed their production and released to account for the strike. And that's going to hurt. That's going to suck. Again, if there's scripts done, sure. And that's why you take a look at different areas. they've kind of put a little bit of a rush on getting scripts done in some form or fashion. That way, when it's done, they can still go into production with this stuff while that's all looming. But when you get closer to 8-9 months, that really could hurt. You take a look at some of the biggest shows right now: House of the Dragon, Last of Us, The Mandalorian, which, pretty big thing here with The Mandalorian. Jon Favreau has completed the script already. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the script for Mandalorian Season 4 is done? Because they want to make sure if this strike happens, they can still film Season 4. That's a big thing. House of the Dragon is in production now, but who knows if they're completed with all the scripts? If they're not, and this strike happens, the season could be delayed in coming out even more. Last of Us Season 2 is nowhere near production. We don't even know if the scripts are completed or have even been started. Yellowstone, another big one. It's really interesting to see what's going to happen with this writer's strike. I'm not a fan of strikes. I hate them, but I understand why this has to happen. Because these writers deserve to be well compensated for things. So hopefully they get something figured out in the next week and a half. But if not, and it drags on, I think we'll be okay. I think right now, if there's a strike, if the strike happens on May 1st, we're not going to see the ramifications of that in many areas until next year, if it lasts that long. Sure, some shows now that are in production may have to end early, but there's a lot of shows that have completed their filming, have scripts written, are in production for next year. So that's kind of where it's at. I don't think we're going to see a huge effect right now. But in the long run, it could really hurt. It really could hurt everybody. Those of us who are fans of television, that is. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. I want to know what you think about all of it, because it's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. Before we move on, I do want to tell you, go check out our merch store. Go right now. No, wait, don't leave. Don't leave. Keep watching. Don't go anywhere. Please don't leave. Good. I still have that one viewer. Okay. It's probably me or my son. I don't know. Anyways, go check out our merch store. Link is in the description. And you can find t-shirts, stickers, bottles, all that kind of fun stuff. Help support us keep the lights on, keep the stuff up and running. Because, it's important. It's important. For sure. All right. On to our main topic here. And this is where things get a little bit weird. Because technically I don't normally share this kind of stuff on the main show. But I think this is important. This is important. So we all know that there was an election a couple years ago, right? Joe Biden somehow won in the election. Donald Trump lost. Was there manipulation, cheating? Was the entire vote rigged? Well, Fox News really believed that was the case. Or did they? Fox News Media Dominion voting system reached agreement over defamation lawsuit. Now, Dominion was one of the main companies who their products were used, their computers and systems were used for the election. And Fox News, despite many of their pundits, their reporters in real life saying, no, there's no way that anything was false or it wasn't rigged. Despite them believing and knowing that, they continue to put on their television shows that Dominion's system was rigged and that the entire election was rigged. So that's where we're at right now. So Dominion sued Fox Media, and they filed a $1.6 billion lawsuit against Fox News. Had Dominion won in court, they would have won a minimum, most likely, of $1.6 billion, depending on what the judge would have gone with. But what ended up happening was an agreement was made. Fox News settled, and they settled for, what is it, $750 million or something like that. I can't find it here. But they also had to come out and apologize and acknowledge that they lied about this entire thing. So what does that have to do with movies and pulp culture and YouTube and what have you? For anybody who's been following me for the better part of a year now, I've gone out of my way to call out a lot of grifters, a lot of scoopers, a lot of bullshitters on the internet. Again, I will admit there was a point in time where I wanted to do that, but I wanted to do it the right way. I wanted to truly get the information and put it out there honestly, accurately. That's what I wanted to do. But when I realized that, one, that's really difficult to do and get into because you have to have connections, you have to know people, and two, there's a lot of backlash if you get something wrong. So what I wanted to do is, slowly build my way into it. Well, I started to realize that it just wasn't worth it because I want to have a good relationship with my fans, with my viewers, with those that follow me on Twitter. I don't want to lead them down a path of incorrect or misinformation. But because of that, I also don't want those same people who follow me and watch me and listen to me to be led astray by assholes on the internet who are claiming that they have scoops or information. So for the better part of a year, I've been calling them out. I've been holding them accountable. I've been showcasing and pushing this information so everybody knows and understands that these people are bullshitters. These people are grifters. They're making money off of you on their YouTube channels, on their websites, because you're visiting them, because you're subscribing to them, because you're doing super chats on information that is not true. So yeah, I was calling them out. But what happened with Fox News and Dominion have to do with that? See, the thing is Fox News, those pundits over there knew that they were lying. They knew that they were lying to the American people. They knew what they were saying about Dominion was a lie. In doing so, Dominion was able to do a defamation lawsuit because they had proof that showed that they all believed or knew that everything they were saying was false and inaccurate, but they were doing it to get the ratings. People like Sil Abdul, Mikey Sutton, Grace Randolph, they all will come out and say things. Doomcock, I can't think of any others right now. They'll come out and give inaccurate information, which hurts studios. Take a look at what Sil Abdul and Mikey Sutton have done to Warner Brothers, have done to DC Studios, because of all of the bullshit that they were spouting, because of all the lies. The Snyderverse will be restored. The Snyderverse will be restored. The Snyderverse will be restored. The Snyderverse will be restored over and over and over and over again, despite them knowing that it was inaccurate, that it was false, that it was not going to happen. They know that. Now, they're little peons. They don't have a lot of money. Unlikely that Warner Brothers will ever go after them, but it's a possibility. This What happened with Fox News and Dominion has set a precedent that companies can start going after these people if they have proof that these people know that they are lying, knowingly lying to the people that they are speaking with. They can 100% go after them in a lawsuit. And that could happen. That could happen on YouTube. YouTube is constantly changing. There are things constantly changing on YouTube. Different algorithms, different landmarks you have to hit for things. Constantly changing. Their rules are constantly changing. There's no reason why they may not decide to put in something that would support this. I'm not wrong. It very well could happen. And honestly, it should happen. Because what these grifters, what these bullshitters do is they truly hurt fandoms. They hurt studios. This bullshit that has gone on with Warner Brothers and the Snyder Boys. I call them the Snyder Boys. It's not all Snyder fans. Snyder Boys are different than the respectful Snyder fans. And I want people to understand that. Snyder Boys are the terrible, disrespectful, the ones who don't really stand for anything that the Restore the Snyderverse fandom ever stood for. They have damaged Warner Brothers. Yes, they're a minority, but they are loud. And they just constantly push and push and push. And they're trying to tarnish a man's name, James Gunn. We know that he has a history. We know that he has a past. He has paid the price. He has handled that. He has spoken about that. But you just don't let it go. You were the ones that Syl Abdul, that Mikey Sutton, that Grace Randolph, that Doomcock, that all of these grifters come to and pull you in and have you pay $5.99 for a super chat to say, hey, let's go. Or to go to their website so they get ad revenue. Stop doing it. Although, I wouldn't mind Warner Brothers going after them. Even if it's just to scare them. Just to scare them to say, stop your shit. I think that's what they need to do, honestly. It's crazy, though. Absolutely crazy. I want to know your thoughts on this, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think about Warner Brothers. Can these studios start going after grifters? Should they start going after grifters? Dominion versus Fox News Media, I think it sets that yes, they can and yes, they should. Do you agree with what Fox News was saying or not? That's besides the point. But when it comes to these grifters, to these scoopers, to these bullshitters, it's time to put an end to their bullshit. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you come back next week, next Thursday, every single Thursday, live show. Make sure you check out our channel. We got shorts coming out every single day. We got constant flow of videos coming out on our YouTube channel. With that, you can find us on all of the podcatching apps, the major ones especially, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, I think Amazon as well. So you can find us there. You can find us on Rumble now. And, to get to all of that and our socials, just click that little QR code on the screen that you see or follow the links in the description. With all that said, though, everyone, thank you so much for checking us out, watching, listening. Again, share this with your friends, family, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, grandparents. We want 2,000 subscribers as soon as possible. I'm shooting for May now. I was going to go to the end of the summer. I keep pulling it back. I was like, the end of the year, end of summer. I want it by May. That's what I want. I want it by May. But thank you all so much for watching. With all that said, I'll talk at all of you later.